Could you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, under God, republic, indivisible, stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to roll call. Gilbert?
Nori Nelson.
Here.
Sean Samsel.
Present.
Kelly Lee.
Present.
Charlene Robinson.
Here.
Tom Beresny. Frank Santa Cruz.
Here.
Ed Verberg.
Present.
John Bernal.
Here.
Frank Fry.
Here.
Bill Schlesinger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, action item, approval of meeting summary of June 25th, 2024. We did not have a quorum for July, so there will be no meeting minutes for that meeting. So do you need a few minutes to review the June meeting minutes, or is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the June minutes.
Second.
Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So, okay, thank you. The motion passes. We're moving on to so we're going to switch items 6 and 4. We're moving on to regional planning, Sonoran Corridor, and I-11, and that's through PAG and ADOT staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul Casertano, Deputy Director here at DOT. So if you recall, the committee members had asked for more updated information on Sonoran Corridor and Interstate 11 planning efforts. They also asked for information about overall regional planning in the Pima County region. So we asked both ADOT and PAG staff to provide for us an update on 2 efforts that are going on. One is the update of the region's long-range transportation plan, and the other is the update from ADOT on the status of planning efforts for I-11 and the Sonoran Corridor. I believe we have PAG up first. Is that correct, Gilbert, in the slide order?
Actually, slide order, we would do ADOT.
Okay, that works, unless there's any objections. So we'll kick it over to, with us today is Clem Lagaki, who's with the ADOT planning group, and Clem is a veteran ADOT representative who has a storied history in lots of great ADOT activities, and he's here to give us an update on I-11 and Sonoran Corridor. So with that, Clem, I'll give it to you and take it away.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I am Clem Lagaki, Planning Group Manager in Multimodal Planning at ADOT. Unfortunately, our lead PMs are not available today, but I'm very happy to be here, and thanks very much for inviting us. So I'll provide you a brief update on the Sonoran Corridor and I-11 here today. We'll move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the first project will be State Level 410, the Sonoran Corridor study. And we're looking here at a 20-mile corridor that, of course, connects I-19 on the south, west, and I-10 on the northeast. You see the corridor depicted there by the blue line on the map that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with at this point in time. The current scope is to go to the Tier 2 EIS and everything that goes along with that analysis, the environmental impacts study. And so you may remember that the Tier 1 EIS was published back in 21, and that's where we defined the 2,000-foot wide border at that time. So the schedule that we're on, and our status is the notice of intent and public scoping. We're looking at spring of 2025 there, and ultimately a record of decision is fall of 2026. September is the conflict we're targeting at this point. So obviously with Tier 2, the departmental field work is very much in progress, and we'll get to our early public involvement following that. Okay, next please. So this will be really hard to see, but it's just conceptual. And so there's a funnel graphic here. I'm going to get you more information here coming up. Looking at alternative A again, you see that same line this time in red showing up, and just shows potential locations for the at-grade crossings and the interchanges. Obviously at 10 and 19, you see the sort of orange colored dots, if you can make those out, at the interstates. And then the blue ones between there are more of the at-grade crossing potential locations there. So there's a couple of, kind of alignment within the 400 feet there, showing how things might be very conceptual, potentially 2 lanes, one in each direction to start out, and then potentially, growing to 4 lanes. And then, depending on what else is in the right of way there, just the space that may be needed. But obviously, we have to get further into the Tier 2 to get things more specific. So conceptually, this is what we have out of Tier 1 at this point. Next, please. The status. Okay, so this just lays out then the status in the timeline. You can see where we've been there, going back to spring of 2024 with the public announcement to move forward here with the Tier 2. And so we've gotten quite a bit of input at this point, and so that has been completed. Next, we go to the public scoping. That will be spring of 2025 as we get the build alternatives moving. Then fall of 2025, public informational meeting is what we're targeting. And then the final documents, hopefully a record of decision, looking at summer of 2026 if all goes well. So that's just a quick update on that. I'll go to I-11 next. And so if you want to move to that one. Okay, so again, on I-11, the Tier 1 was completed in 2021, back in late 2021, and that was for Nogales to Wickenburg. As you know, north of that I-93, State Route 93, US 93 was identified previously heading up northwest. So that record of decision came in, and so again, that the 2,000-foot wide corridor was established at that time as the alternative. So there's a link there. If you want to click on that, I won't be driving it from here, but at least you'll be able to see that should open up for you. And so there's a bunch more information there, but so it does. I'm going to send some positive energy in your direction here. I don't see it yet. Is it coming up or not?
Just about
Okay, that's all right.
It's right. It's still sharing the other screens and the.
Yeah, it's okay. Just wanted to show you the type of information that's available there. There's quite a bit. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I heard some friendly names that I know, and so I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. Thanks. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so you can see there's information going back to the selected alternative there on the left panel. The final EIS information, including the executive summary. There's some more friendly reader's purpose and needs statement and the full range of alternatives considered and other information. So it's quite a bit of detail here. It's all documented from Tier 1. So you have that link, so if you haven't seen it before, I invite you to visit that, and everything is laid out there for you. It's really pretty detailed. Okay. So I just want to make sure you see that. We can go back to the slides if you like. Okay, so let's move on to the next. All right, so bullet number 1 is the unfortunate one that we don't like to talk about too much, but we need to. There's certainly no funding to construct at this time. And so what's available is the appropriated funds that we have for the Tier 2 up in the Maricopa County region, Buckeye to Wickenburg area there. And so this again would establish 400 feet whittling down from the 2,000 to get to an alignment at eventually State Route for the I-10, I-11. And so, of course, no other segments have been identified for Tier 2 at this point in time. Go to the next, please. Okay, we're Southern Arizona. Of course, most interest to you, I'm sure. So, the Tier 2, as I'm sure you're aware, did carry through those 2 options. And as we go to Tier 2, of course, we have to consider both options equally or equitably. And, if the Tier 2 study ends up being programmed, that's how we would approach it. Of course, there certainly can be no predetermination or assumptions in environmental impact study. So the east option utilizes the I-10 and I-19 existing, and then of course the other options on the west. So I maybe I'll take a pass on asking you to open the link again. It's within the link there that we opened earlier. It's up to you, but this will show the 2 corridor options in the map. You can feel free to take a closer look at that at this time. So, if we do get the funding and at some point go to Tier 2, then everything that goes along with that will be involved. Full environmental, lots of engineering work, and considerable consultation with tribes and considerable public and stakeholder involvement, and obviously your group and PAG and everyone in the region would be front and center, in all that involvement. And, of course, at ADOT, we'd be leading this. We of course recognize the federally designated status of PAG as the lead planning agency in the region, and all the stakeholders, including yourself, sitting at that table. And obviously, we fully respect that and we plan to work very closely with you. So that's there. And again, there's no Tier 2 study program right now in Southern Arizona, so that is not clear. Next, please. So, we're looking forward to these 2 projects. They're both really important, but you're all aware of the challenges that we have. Funding is a key one. We have a long-range plan that looked at needs, and we found that over the planning period for the long-range plan, the 20 years, we're only short about $162 billion. Things out right now. It's kind of tough, to see Carlos right now. But you probably know Tazeen and Carlos. Tazeen Duman is our corridor planning group manager. So if you have any further questions or want to contact Tazeen, she'd be very happy to talk to her, send you other information that's needed on Sonora. And so that's her information. Carlos Lopez is back on board. And so Carlos does have Interstate 11 right now on his plate. Unfortunately, he's out at a conference in another part of the country, and so I'm happy to be here. But Carlos is really excellent and gets you everything you need to know as far as I-11 is concerned moving forward. So again, thank you very much. I hope this information was helpful. It's very brief status information, but hopefully this will be helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Clem. Appreciate you providing an update. And Madam Chair, I don't know if you want to split questions with the ADOT contact before we go on to the PAG side, or if you would like to deal with it after we
Well, I
conclude.
believe he has to leave, right? So if anybody has any questions for him?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I do have a question. Do you have, at this point, any high-level summary of any public input related to the environmental review? I know there was at least one court hearing related to it for the I-11.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, sir, we can provide you, what we have. There is some information on the website. I will get with Carlos and we'll get you whatever we have. And, who would you like me to send that to get that to you?
Clem, you can send that back to Gilbert and myself at County DOT, and we can distribute it to the advisory committee.
Okay, and just to be clear, you're looking for any detailed information we have on the public input that would have been provided today.
Is that correct, Ed? Is that?
High level, not detailed.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bernal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Clem, thank you for the presentation. You mentioned that I-11 to the north has a Tier 2 study that's about to get underway, or at least is funded apparently. My question is about competition for those kinds of funds, planning funds within ADOT. Would this piece of I-11 in Pima County be high on the list for the next bunch of Tier 2 funding?
Well, I can't predict that. I may be mistaken, but I believe that this was legislatively directed funding to get that portion going. So, it came from that direction. And so, with the funding available, then, we were able to proceed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Kelly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple questions on the exhibits for the Sonoran corridor. If you could go back to those. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, yeah, for this one, this one is good. It says at the top Tier 2 study status and then 2050 plan graphic. What is meant by calling it 2050? Does that mean when it's going to be built or projected to be built?
Well, it's just a long-term look to ultimately whenever that will be. It isn't meant to suggest that, that's a target date for building that. Certainly that's a long, long ways off, but it's just kind of a long-range goal. And brought it. Perhaps we would have been better not to put a date on this graphic.
Oh, just curious.
It's more of a long-range ultimate concept.
Okay, and then on the cross-section, there's a weird looking, I don't know, maybe
Robot thing?
like a real, maybe a cell tower on the left-hand side of the cross-section. What is that symbolizing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, ma'am, that is a transmission wire. It's just conceptual, that there could be other things there in the right-of-way. There's even, potential if rail should come in, that's what's next to it. And then it's a path, sidewalk walking path is next to that to the right. It's really too small to see. But it's just conceptual, envisioning that certainly, the environment would have other things in the right of way. And so ultimately the space will need to accommodate whatever that might happen to be at by that point in time.
Yeah, and it appears you have a lot of at-grade crossings to deal with, and have those, obviously those discussions have started with the railroad.
Yeah, I'd have to defer to our PM on that. I'm sure that, what we did in Tier 1, those discussions were certainly begun, and it would have to be more.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming today.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll turn it over to Paul.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, we'll go ahead and we'll move along to the PAG side of this presentation. So we have PAG staff with us today that's going to give us an overview of the regional long-range transportation plan that PAG and the other jurisdictional member agencies, and Pima County DOT and the other jurisdictional member agencies. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jeanette Duren.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeanette Duren. I'm the Transportation Planning Director at PAG. And with me today is Hannah Oden. She's project manager for RMAP and my quarterback on most of our planning projects at PAG. I'm going to give you a brief overview of long-range planning and how it works at PAG, as well as our project that we're in the midst of doing, the 2055 Regional Mobility and Accessibility Plan, which I'll call the RMAP from here on out. Gilbert, does this work? All right, let me give that a go. Okay, so what is the RMAP? So this is Transportation Planning 101, and really what it is it's our federally mandated transportation plan. And so it has a 30-year planning horizon, so we are looking beyond the immediate future here. We're looking way out into the 30 years down the line. And there's different elements that are included in the plan. I've listed a few of them here, but some of the things that we look at are our population forecast as well as our employment forecast. So how many people are coming and where are they going in the region, as well as future employment. We do what's called performance-based planning, and we monitor what we call performance measures. So there's some federally required measures as well as regionally set performance measures. And so what we're doing here is looking at how our roadways are performing in many different areas, but the easiest ones to think about are congestion and safety. Another big piece of it, of course, is our anticipated revenue. So I'll walk in a few slides, I'll walk you through the financial elements of our plan, but what we have to do is make sure that our plan is what we call fiscally constrained. And so we need to make sure that we have a good picture of what our revenue will be like in the next 30 years and then plan to that level. So we have to keep it in the realm of possibility and not just a big list of wants. One of the things that we strive to do with our committees is make sure that the plan is flexible and can cover a wide range of different types of projects that we'd like to see throughout the region. And all of the projects that come through the MPO, through our Transportation Improvement Program, through the TIP, have to be consistent with the long-range plan. So I have a little bit of a graphic later on. I'll show you a little bit more about what that's all about. These are some of the required elements. So this is right out of the federal code. These are the types of things that we have to include in the plan. And I'll walk through a few of these in detail, but the big highlights are we do this every 4 years. So the only thing that changes is that date. So right now we're working on the 2055 long-range plan. So we'll be back in this rotation. It's just a constant planning cycle. The big piece is that it identifies all of our transportation facilities. So there's existing conditions where we're looking at what we have right now and then planning for the future. As I mentioned before, our performance measures and targets, system performance report, that's all part of what's required for us to put in the plan. There's also our elements of air quality conformity and environmental consultation, and then of course the big piece being that financial plan. Part of that financial plan is developing what we call a reasonable expectation of funding. So we have to keep it real. We can plan to hone in on this money to show up and plan to that. We have to really hone in on how we determine what our revenue is going to be and then fiscally constrain that plan. There's also a public participation component, and I I thought it was interesting when I looked over the statute that said it has to have a reasonable opportunity to comment. So it was pretty vague, but I think at PAG we go a little bit beyond the reasonable opportunity to comment, and I'll walk you through some of our public participation. Okay, so this graphic explains the long-range plan. The RMAP is a big umbrella project, and so for projects to be funded here in the region, they have to be listed in the long-range plan. So it's that big rectangle. Other rectangles that you guys might be familiar with are the RTA. So RTA, of course, is our half-cent sales tax. That money is just one fund source that we look at in the long-range plan, one of many. And then, of course, our 5-year transportation improvement program. So that's where we start assigning dollars to different projects. So this really is the crux of why we do the long-range plan. Projects have to be here first, and then we can put them in the TIP and fund them, and then ultimately the jurisdictions deliver those projects. Okay, so the financial plan, this is a piece that we look at quite frequently, but we use different methodology for coming up with our financial forecast, depending on the source. So we changed this up a little bit this go round to be really consistent with what other agencies are doing, specifically with ADOT. ADOT has a team of economists that work for them and project their revenue, so we decided to kind of align our efforts with what they're doing, as well as using RTA forecasts that the Eller College puts together. Our federal funding, of course, reflects our current apportionment, so we're always just kind of keeping track of what we're getting and making sure that we're not expecting to get something outside the range of possible. And then we work closely with every jurisdiction to look at what the local funding contributions would be. So there are obviously local dollars that come into the county that would be allocated towards projects that would be in the long range plan. So the little pie chart on the right there gives you a little summary of kind of the funding mixture, and then on the table on the left shows that we're planning to a $16.2 billion total plan. So all the projects in the long range plan can't exceed that $16.2 billion. Okay, so our finance plan, this is a little bit of a comparison between the plan that we're currently working under, which is the 2045 update, and where we are in development of the 2055. So there's a little bit of a difference. The plan we're working on now has a 30-year time frame, where the last one had a 25-year time frame. So that fiscally constrained number is a little bit higher this time, but mostly because it's including another 5 years of funding. We used some different forecasting methodology, and we worked really closely this go around with the jurisdictions to make sure those local contributions are aligned. So there's just a little bit of difference this go around, but we're confident that it's really going to give us an actual picture of what we can expect in the next 30 years. Okay, another key piece of what we're doing is our model development. And the reason I bring this up is because this is one of the more kind of complex technical things that we work on, but it's also one of the key pieces with working with every one of our jurisdictions. So we work with you all to develop our population projections, to model our known projects. So these are the development projects that are coming in, as well as we look at residential and employment growth. So that's all part of our land use model, and then we do what we call our activity-based model. And we factor in all different kinds of socioeconomic data, employment data, and then transit and roadway projects. So right now, this is the stage of the project we're at right now, which I personally think is the cool part of the project. But this map is just showing an illustration of this is employment density. But this is the kind of outputs that our data science team is putting together right now. Okay, so this year we did a RMAP survey, and we were really excited that we had almost 4,500 people participate. And I want to say thank you to you guys, especially the county did help with some of the outreach in terms of getting the message out there, and we really appreciate that. Many of the supervisors' offices also helped distribute the survey link and garner participation from their different parts of the county. So we're really excited about that. Our campaign was really thorough. We did everything in English and Spanish. We had radio, TV, print, digital kiosks. I was on K-Gun. That was the highlight of my kid's life to see me on the news. But anyway, we were out there. We also did a lot of partner promotions with jurisdictions, neighborhood associations, business groups, chambers of commerce, and the like. And we also staffed some drop-in events, which were actually really fun. And the purpose of those were to engage with people that might not be as tech savvy or might not have access to the internet. And we had a really good time engaging with those folks and got some folks to participate in that effort as well. I'm going to share just a few of the survey results, but I think this one really tells the story right here. So this slide represents the question of what are your transportation priorities? And overwhelming result, improved roadway conditions. I don't think that's much of a surprise to any of us, but it does show that folks really do care about our existing infrastructure, the quality of our roads. Intersection safety, reduced traffic congestion, and crosstown travel time were all kind of equally represented there, as well as some of the other elements, but this really does show that the community wants more investment in our roadway conditions. This slide, we asked a question on how would you spend the budget? If we gave you X amount of dollars, how would you spend that? And improve existing roadways was the winner there. Safety and then reduce congestion, of course, we're kind of tied for second there, if you will. We asked many other questions, but these were kind of, I think, the key questions. So we're still in the public engagement phase, and so you'll see us out at different events. We'll be at Tucson Meet Yourself. We also have a few open houses coming up as well. But most importantly, we're reaching out to some of the folks that may not have received the first survey, and we want to make sure that we're representing all areas of the county. We did ask for zip codes, so we do know that there's some zip codes out there that we didn't get a big response from, so we're going to make sure that we reach out to those areas of town specifically. And then this is my last slide. This is just our project timeline. So we're hoping to take this to our regional council in May of next year. So there's just a few more steps to get there, a lot more outreach, of course, as well as getting the plan through our committees. And that's all I have for you guys today. Madam Chair, it looks like Mr. Bernal has a question. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jeanette. Can you go back to that slide that talked about the dollars coming into the region? I got a
This one?
let's see, the one after that. No, yeah, that was it.
This one?
You said that the 2045 update was a 20-year plan, or 25-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one's a 30-year plan, and yet the local funding for the previous plan is twice what we're talking about going forward. How does that work?
Yeah. Madam Chair, Mr. Bernal, yes, I can explain that. So one of the things that we wanted to separate from this plan versus the last plan is there was a lot of entanglement with the pavement contribution money. And so one of the things we did is we took out all the pavement money, and we're going to show that separately in the plan because that money is really at the discretion of the local jurisdiction. So some of our jurisdictions were including that, some of them weren't. So we made a decision this time, let's pull pavement out separately, look at that to show that investment as a local contribution investment. That'll also help us show the 411 money and the investment that's being made on the city side as well. So that's why that number is so different.
And somewhat related, the current RTA runs out, of course, in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets reauthorized, it'll go to 2046. We're still not getting up to 2055. Are we assuming a half-cent sales tax throughout the entire planning period?
Yes, so both the 2045 update and the 2055 plan assume the half-cent sales tax continues out through the duration of the entire planning horizon. So an RTA 3 is even assumed in this plan as well.
Okay. And one final question, going back to the other two topics we already heard about, I-11 and Sonoran Corridor, are both of those reflected in the whatever long-range plan status we have now?
The Sonoran Corridor is, I-11 is not. So we are making an assumption that funds will be expended in the next 30 years for the Sonoran Corridor, but not for I-11.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, Paul, I'll turn it back over
All
to
right,
you.
well, thank you, Jeanette.
Thanks for
And,
having me.
Hannah, thank you, Clem. And if the committee members have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us. We can follow those up with PAG and ADOT, or you're always welcome to go directly to our speakers.
Okay,
Back to
thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to road update, road repair update. Jason?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a long way up here from the other side of the room. We are happy to present our update for this fiscal year's program so far. So getting things kicked off, exciting that we get to already have something on this slide this early in the fiscal year, but we do have one substantially complete project already for this fiscal year. That's our Pima Mine Road and Ocotillo Ranch Road mill and pave project. That job is completely wrapped up at this point now. Final striping and everything is completed on that job. So exciting. We're only a couple months into the fiscal year and we already have something done and wrapped up. A lot of stuff ongoing, as you would probably presume, though. Our Green Valley Surface Treatment Project is still ongoing. They're about the halfway point. All the crack seal work is done and they started doing the fog seal this past Monday. So just kind of getting going in that, another couple, 3 weeks left on that before they move on to the next item in that project. The Sonoran Ranch Camino Verde Estates curb ramp project is also going. It just recently got started here in the last couple of weeks. They're starting in the Camino Verde Estates subdivision and then they'll move into the Sonoran Ranch subdivision. They're overlapping though, so it's not like one's going to complete then the next. They are going to overlap. They just were sequencing them for a couple week lag to help with production. That job is going to be ongoing for the next several months, so probably still going through the end of November at least for that project. Our Ajo surface treatment project is also ongoing. All crack seal work on that project is expected to be done this week. With the other surface treatment work, the fog seal, the cape seal, the micro seal, all of that really kind of ramping up middle of next month in October. The Moore Road pulverization pave project is also moving along pretty quickly. The job started a couple weeks ago, and they are getting ready to pave this week. So that project is quickly moving towards completion. Within the next month or so, they should be wrapping up with that. Lastly, Community of West Sunset Road. So that's listed on ongoing projects, but not really any activity in the field. A lot of the ongoing work for that is just data collection that's been going on. The real bulk of that project isn't going to get going till November. So the actual in-the-ground paving work will be in November, December timeframe as it stands, unless schedule shifts due to different reasons. So kind of getting more specific here already. Surface treatment project, like we kind of mentioned already, crack seal is expected to be done potentially as early as tomorrow. They'll be done with that. This is out in the town, in the Ajo region, out west side of Pima County. There's 8.37 miles of local road surface treatment and 4.98 miles of arterial collector surface treatment. You can kind of see it kind of sporadically spread over the Ajo region there, with some up by the airport and some down in the urban area of Ajo as well. And that project is moving along quite swiftly, as we mentioned. Moore Road, same thing. Granite Construction got this project. There's just shy of 2 miles of arterial collector paving on this job, and it is moving quickly along. So I know the completion date listed there is 12/20, but we're expecting that completion date quite a bit before that, potentially even within the next month or so. And then, as we mentioned, the Community of West Sunset project, really just getting going, very preliminary early work with survey and layout going on. Nothing in the ground happening for about a month and a half or so now to be expected on that. This was also awarded to Granite Construction, and there's about 2 3/4 miles of paving on this project. A couple other jobs we didn't mention already, though. The Riverside Crossing ADA and Pave project is also awarded at this point. It's been awarded to ISX Construction for $550 on this project, $343. There's 24 new curb ramps on this project, just shy of a mile of new local road milling and paving, with a completion date expected of 12/20/2024 on that. We do have a pre-construction meeting for this job tomorrow, expecting it to really kind of ramp into construction toward the latter part of October, beginning of November timeframe. Vail Corona de Tucson surface treatment project has also been awarded. This was awarded to Sunland Asphalt for $535,000. There's just a tad bit over 3 miles of local road surface treatment, 9.13 miles of arterial collector surface treatment, with a completion date on it of the end of February of 2025. So all of this project is crack seal and fog seal work, and that's expected to really kind of launch and get going in the early part of December of this year in 2024. Another job awarded to Sunland, Industrial Region Surface Treatment. So this is also another surface treatment project that's all crack seal and fog seal. Just over 7.5 miles of local road surface treatment, just under 3 miles of arterial collector surface treatment, kind of in that central area off of Alvernon and I-10 area. That's kind of about the central area of that project. This is all going to be getting started probably beginning of January timeframe, with the completion date of the 28th of March of 2025. So there's a lot of projects that, as you can see there from that dark blue part of the pie chart, there's a lot still in that package preparation stage, really kind of getting ready to get going here shortly and get out to advertisement with the next several months. You'll see more jobs that we'll talk about as we go. A good portion in construction now, with that one project being shown in complete status as well. And so, as always, you can view the status of all the roads selected in our program at that project map with the link there below. And this is kept fairly up to date, so you can see the real-time status of all these projects, whether they're in construction or planned or completed. And with that, I will open to any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Jason, you did such a wonderful job.
Yeah, you guys went easy on me this month. I love it.
Okay.
We're missing Tom.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, RTA next, Director Skinner.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Catherine Skinner, the Director of Transportation, and giving you another update on where RTA Next development is today. So since we last met, there was an RTA board meeting. There was a special meeting on September 5th, and it was really focused upon, again, developing the plan. Are we ready to have a plan to go out to public input, feedback? And they came a long ways. So another two things I think would be helpful to mention is that General Ted Maxwell, who's the chair of the RTA board, has spoken to Tucson's mayor and council about the plan, and then last week was also at the Pima County Board of Supervisors presenting the plan as it exists today. And there will be an RTA board meeting this coming Thursday. So what the plan looks like today and will be discussed on Thursday to move forward, and hopefully, potentially, there will be action that it can go out for public comment, is very similar to what you've seen before. So there have not been wholesale changes with the roadway list in any way. What General Maxwell requested and has happened is those 4 deferred projects that were from RTA 1 are now listed on the documentation. Instead of a line item for $230-some million, it spells out how much for each project. Another change that was made at the September 5th meeting is that the environmental category, that's wildlife linkages is what many know it as, had been at $50 million. They reduced that to a $25 million line item, and that extra $25 million that they saved was moved into contingency. There was an update to the naming convention for the element that had been safety and active transportation. So now it is safety, ADA, and active transportation element, adding that ADA to make it clear that those types of improvements are included within that element. As we discussed, I believe, at our last meeting, but if not, I will repeat it. One change that was made, working really with the city of Tucson to try to find a plan that is agreeable to all, was an arterial rehabilitation plan. So touching on that pavement condition issue, which Jeanette brought up with the RMAP, is really something that the public is speaking about as roadway conditions. So there is money, just really a small amount of money in the base plan for arterial rehabilitation. Project has been identified for that initial investment, and that's golf links from Wilmot to Houghton Road. And the way that this element works is it is anticipated that there is a very good likelihood that the revenues collected under RTA Next will exceed the pessimistic estimate from Eller. So we will bring in more money than what this plan has been built for. And that additional money, they've made decisions on what that money will be used for essentially already and how it's divvied up. So a significant portion of any excess RTA funds will go to the city of Tucson so that they reach the 55% mark for investment in the RTA Next plan. So those are primarily the changes. As you know, because we've been making updates at this committee for 3 years now, it's taken a while to get to this point. This coming Thursday, there will be a discussion of this plan. Is it ready to go to the public? And there's also an item to discuss what does that public outreach look like? How does one build that to get valuable information? So if you have keen interest, I encourage you to watch it on YouTube or attend, but we'll learn a lot this Thursday. Are there any questions from the committee? Mr. Bernal.
Thank you, Catherine. Maybe just add a couple things. As you mentioned, General Maxwell's been working overtime on this. In fact, I heard him this morning on a radio program talking about the status of RTA. And listening to the two bodies, the City of Tucson and Board of Supervisors, when they had General Maxwell's presentation, neither body took any formal action, but they both tended to agree that it was time to put something out to the public, is the way I read it. And so we'll see, like you said, what happens on Thursday. The other thing I'd just comment is that I think the arterial rehabilitation category that's now being included is important to Pima County. I'd argue maybe as important as to the City of Tucson. So my hope is that that stays in there at least, and we're able to compete for some of that in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. And I agree. I mean, I think part of what I've been hearing from General Maxwell and others when this has been discussed is we need to hear what the public wants. This plan may not be perfect yet, but we need to hear from the audience that's going to ultimately vote on it before we make additional changes. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to call to the audience. Do we have anything, Gilbert? Nothing? Okay. The next one is just a discussion. We wanted to talk about the frequency of the committee meetings and just get some feedback from the committee on what your thoughts are. If we maintain the monthly meetings, or should we go to every other month? for meetings. Catherine, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you captured it.
Okay.
You know, we did lack quorum in July, and I know some of the content is repeated. Maybe there's not that much change in a pavement repair project from month to month. So we thought this might be an opportunity to bring you all together a little less frequently, but have more content in the meetings we do have.
Do I have any feedback from the committee?
Madam Chair, I have a comment or two.
Okay.
Whatever frequency the committee agrees to would be fine by me. That's not what I'm bringing up. We have to look at our bylaws.
Yes.
And the bylaws say we meet monthly.
Yes.
So we need to first, if we're going to change our frequency, change the bylaws to allow it.
Correct.
So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Yeah. And we did not prepare to have that change made at today's meeting. We wanted to gauge whether that was something that the committee was in general in
Yes.
favor of, so that at an upcoming meeting, we can formalize this.
Madam Chair, can we have an amendment to the bylaws on our next agenda? Might as well start there, at least, and we'll see if everybody, and I suppose we could keep the language vague enough that it's up to the chair to call a meeting as necessary or something, you know?
Sure, sure. Okay. Any other feedback from anyone else? Okay, and then I also wanted to just get an idea of if the committee has been able to meet with their supervisors, and do you have anything to address to us regarding those meetings?
Madam Chair, I'd like to comment. I think this is a future meeting topic.
Okay.
Matt Hines' meeting is scheduled for October 2nd. I've talked to Tom Bresney, and he has met with his supervisor. So, and if we get the one that Kelly Lee is working on, which is your supervisor,
Yes.
we will have had 4 out of the 5. So
Okay.
I think on the next meeting agenda, if we're lucky, we'll have 5 out of 5, that we ought to get an update as to the response to our briefings at
Okay.
that meeting. Be
Great.
my suggestion, that be a topic on the agenda.
Yep, okay, great. And moving on to that, future items for discussion? Anything else to add? Meeting? Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for October 22nd, and I'm assuming you'll let us know where the location will be, if it's going to be here again, or...
Our intention is to move the meetings to this location
Okay.
for the foreseeable future. I mean,
Great.
this is an easier home for us to logistically set up, and the technology has been working a little bit more reliably than we were having at Abrams. If any of you have concerns, give me a call and we can discuss how to navigate that. But this would be our new home.
Okay, great, great. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? Thank you.